It had been a long time since I'd done any serious research on this series after Marvel's Spider-Man 2. You know how sometimes something just pops into your head out of nowhere? That's exactly what happened. I was sitting there and thought, what happened to Spider-Man 3? When is it coming out? What is it going to do? And why is there still nothing concrete? Then I said to myself, since it's stuck in my head anyway, let me take a look. And the more I dug into it, the more I realized that especially over the past month, there's been an interesting wave of discussion forming around this game. So today, I wanted to share the entire picture that has emerged in the last month with you. Before we jump into the video, a quick reminder. If you enjoy this kind of game news, don't forget to like the video and subscribe to the channel. It really helps a lot. Let's get started. Let me be clear from the beginning. There's no new trailer, no new gameplay footage, not even a clear statement from the developer. And yet, strangely enough, almost everyone seems confident about the game's future. The conversation has moved past, is Spider-Man 3 happening? The real question has become, when is it coming and which console will it be on? And that's exactly what caught my attention. Because when you look at the analysis from the past month, you start seeing all the answers slowly point in the same direction. This game might not make it into the PS5 generation. As I kept researching, I realized this idea didn't come from a single rumor. On the contrary, it formed from many small pieces coming together. What the studio is currently focused on, some leaks that surfaced in the past, and the timelines being discussed recently. All of that, when placed side by side, pushes you toward the same conclusion. No one is outright saying Spider-Man 3 will be a PS6 game, but the overall picture is enough to seriously make me consider that possibility. When you look at the core of the situation, the developer's priorities play a huge role. Right now, the studio's full focus is on another project, and that explains why Spider-Man 3 has remained so quiet. Personally, I don't see this silence as a bad sign. It feels more like it's not its turn yet. Not cancellation, not uncertainty, not indecision, just a clear order of priorities, with Spider-Man 3 sitting a bit further back in line. When it comes to timing, things get even more interesting. Normally, this series wasn't known for making us wait too long. But now, when you line up the calendars, the dates being talked about for Spider-Man 3 seem to be shifting toward 2028 and beyond. And that immediately raises another question. If the game arrives that late, would it still be designed as a PS5 game, or would it be pushed to the next generation? This was the exact moment where I stopped and said, wait a second, but this time something felt different. Some of the dates that were mentioned years ago now seem more meaningful when combined with today's silence. Back then, the idea of Wolverine first, Spider-Man 3 later didn't sound that convincing. Looking at it now, it actually makes a lot of sense. And that leads me to this thought. Maybe Spider-Man 3's delay isn't abnormal at all. Maybe it was planned this way from the start. Then there's the Venom angle, which I think might be the real breaking point here. There's no officially confirmed Venom game, but the fact that this possibility keeps coming up is important on its own. Because we've already seen this model before, with Miles Morales. Between main entries, we got a more compact but impactful side game that expanded the story and extended the road to the next big title. If something similar is being considered for Venom, then Spider-Man 3 being pushed further out wouldn't surprise me at all. In fact, in that case, dates like 2028, 2029 start to feel even more normal. This is where I realized something important. Over the past month, discussions around Spider-Man 3 have completely moved away from will there be an announcement soon. Instead, people have started reading the calendar. First this game comes out, then this project fits in, and after that, maybe Spider-Man 3 arrives. When I put that chain together in my head, I honestly think the chances of seeing this game in the short term are extremely low. And that's not pessimism, it's just a conclusion based on the current picture. And of course, all of this brings us back to the next-gen question. There's no official date for PlayStation 6, but the general time window people are talking about is fairly clear. If that console launches before Spider-Man 3, then developing the game primarily for PS5 doesn't make much sense to me. For a game of this scale, the studio would likely want to target the most up-to-date hardware. This is where I paused the most during my research, because at that point, the question stops being just, when will the game come out, and turns into which generation will it belong to. It's not hard to understand why this possibility has caused such a strong reaction among players. The PS5 generation has already been rough for many people. The console was hard to find, expensive, and for a long time, players didn't really feel like they had fully moved to a new generation. Now, on top of that, the idea that the final game of the Spider-Man trilogy might be pushed to the next generation naturally makes some players feel left behind. When I read the comments, this is very clear. The frustration isn't really aimed at the game, it's aimed at the waiting and the uncertainty. At this point, I started asking myself this. Let's say Spider-Man 3 really does end up in the PS6 era. What does that actually mean? Honestly, I don't see this as a ridiculous or impossible scenario. When you think about the technical side, targeting next-gen hardware for a game of this scale makes a lot of sense. A bigger city, more complex character switching, maybe systems where we control multiple Spider-Men at once. All of that requires a serious technical leap. So I found myself thinking, if this ends up being a PS6 game, I wouldn't be surprised. But there's also the player side of things, and I think that's where the real debate begins. A lot of players were expecting to play this game on PS5. This isn't a technical expectation, it's an emotional one. People feel like, I bought this console for this. Moving the final game of the trilogy to a new console naturally damages that feeling. And I asked myself this, if Spider-Man 3 were completely exclusive to PS6, would that really be the right move or an unnecessary risk? That's what led me to consider the cross-gen possibility. Honestly, when I think about big games that launched across 2 generations, this scenario feels like the most reasonable one. PS5 owners wouldn't be completely left out, and the power of the new hardware could still be showcased. But let's be honest, cross-gen games rarely reach their full potential. The studio often has to hold back for the older hardware or make compromises on both sides. And for a final chapter, I'm not sure that's ideal. Then there's Sony's perspective. When you look at the bigger picture, it's easy to see how powerful Spider-Man 3 could be as a showcase title for a new console. It's hard to think of a better game to introduce a new generation. So purely from a commercial and strategic standpoint, Sony wanting to save this game for the PS6 era doesn't sound unreasonable at all. At that point, it's not just about what players want, it's also about what the platform holder gains. When I put all of these pieces together, the conclusion that formed in my head is this. Spider-Man 3 still has a chance of coming to PS5, but that chance isn't as strong as it used to be. Everything I've read, seen, and filtered through my own logic over the past month has led me here. This game will either be a late cross-gen title or a project that belongs directly to the PS6 era. And honestly, the longer the wait becomes, the more the second option starts to feel likely. What emerged over the last month wasn't a burst of new information, it was a moment of realization. People finally stopped and asked, why haven't we seen this game yet? And as they searched for answers, the issue shifted away from missing trailers and towards scheduling and strategy. The most interesting part for me was seeing such a strong shared conclusion form without anything being officially said. When you really think about it, none of the scenarios being discussed today are far-fetched on their own. They're all built from logical pieces. Wolverine's position, potential side projects, past plans, and next-gen expectations. When you line all of that up, it's not hard to understand why Spider-Man 3 might have been pushed so far into the future. Looking at this picture now, I don't see the silence as strange anymore. I see it as planned. I think the most important thing right now is setting our expectations correctly. Expecting to see Spider-Man 3 inches the short term just isn't realistic based on the current situation. But that doesn't mean the game is in trouble or that development is going poorly. On the contrary, maybe Insomniac is deliberately taking its time, so the finale of this series isn't rushed. Personally, I'd rather have a big ending that's right than one that's just fast. So where I stand today is this. Spider-Man 3 will most likely land at the very end of the PS5 generation or at the beginning of the PS6 era. This is a prediction, but not an empty one. It's the conclusion. All the signs from the past month have pushed me toward. If tomorrow someone says the game is PS6 exclusive, I wouldn't be surprised. If they say late cross-gen, I wouldn't be surprised either. But if they say it's coming very soon, that's what would truly shock me. Now, I'll throw the question to you. How do you think Spider-Man 3 should be handled? Should it be PS6 exclusive and really push the next generation? Or should it absolutely come to PS5 as well? Which option makes more sense for the final chapter of the trilogy? Write your thoughts in the comments, I'm genuinely curious. If you enjoyed the video, don't forget to like it and subscribe to the channel for more gaming content like this. See you in the next video, take care.